Hi, hello, my name is Devraj. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I wanted to look today about the journey. You know, if you're interested in psychology or you're interested in self-development, if you're interested in moving deeper, you know, what is a kind of map of the journey? Because, you know, throughout my time of trying to develop myself and make myself, you know, clearer and better inside, I've come across lots of different maps, you know, and I wanted to just go through them a little bit today. And let's see if I can just take the camera and move it closer to my big map. You might have noticed, like, you might have come across maps like these ones here. Let's get it properly done. And here's a little map that you would see, you know, of like Sigmund Freud kind of idea. You know, the ego, the conscious mind, the id, the great big sort of unconscious mind, but kind of forbidden planet, like all this lurking weird stuff, and the super ego, you know, trying to control the ego, trying to moderate how we are, our personality out in the world. That's a classic kind of Freudian model from Sigmund Freud. Quite useful in a way, I think. It's one of my favorites. And then, you know, we shuffle along here and we could have a look at like this guy, Abraham Maslow, one of the great kind of humanistic psychologists from, I think, the 50s. And his model was called the hierarchy of needs. I haven't written in the needs, but the basic concept was like, you know, here, you know, you got your basic survival needs: shelter, you know, someone to look after you, some food, you know, something to drink, you know, stuff that you need to survive. Then you work on more social stuff, friendships, and, you know, getting friends, getting yourself a role in society, stuff like that. And then you kind of work on love and spirituality. Hierarchy of needs, another great model. And then over here, you know, maybe if you've got a bit alternative, I don't know if I can see this so well, you might come across a model like this, you know, from a guy called Patanjali, famous Yoga Sutra man. And his model is kind of like, you know, the base chakra moving up the second, and you kind of ascend up a hierarchical thing till you get up to the crown chakra, you know, like, you know, enlightenment, you know. So these are kind of three models that you might well come across, you know, and all have got their value. I don't know about the hierarchical thing so much. I think that's kind of appealing for the more rigid kind of mindset, personally. And I wanted to show you really what it's like, because my main, you know, self-development I got from was around the Osho scene. And he was an Indian mystic from the 70s and 80s who courted controversy and got quite a lot of controversy. And he's on Netflix right now, a big program about him, Wild Country or something. I haven't seen it yet, but some friends of mine might have been watching it. And this is a kind of model that he didn't draw out himself, but one that kind of intuitively appeared to me, you know, through listening to him a lot. And the idea is like three concentric circles, you know. And we've got this outer circle of like thinking and doing, you know. Thinking, kind of robotic behavior, basically. That's the outer circle. And that's where most people are at in life. You know, if you go into town and you look around, that's mostly what people are busy with, you know, trying to get basic needs met, you know, it's kind of Maslow stuff, and just thinking and doing, going around like this. And then inside this layer is a layer of feeling, intense primal feelings, you know, anger, you know, pain, woundedness, very, very intense feelings. And what most people are doing with this thinking and doing, they're trying to avoid these feelings, you know, they're trying to avoid these feelings because the underlying belief at a sort of ego level, if you go back to this super ego thing, is that, you know, we need to control our personality and look good on the outside to get our needs met. And the last thing we want to do is to fall into a load of primal wounds and fears and stuff like that. So we avoid those feelings. And what I've tried to draw here is like a kind of hardened layer develops between the thinking and the feeling. And then on the center here, well, let's get to that in a minute. But what Osho really said was, you know, and what was kind of very apparent in his meditations, particularly dynamic meditation, and a lot of his talks, was instead of trying to keep thinking and doing all the time and working it all out with your analytical mind, you have to get into the feeling. You know, you have to get into the feeling and get into the underlying woundedness that you're carrying around, you know, because we all are, basically. We're all carrying a lot around, you know. That they know now, you know, that the human brain doesn't really develop just in 9 months. It takes, 4 or 5 years after you've come out of your mum to fully develop it. In that time, any level of trauma can remain unprocessed within. It's not like a bad thing, but we tend to regard it as a bad thing. But it's not a bad thing. We have all this trauma, we have the conditioning influences of society inside, and that's what creates the hardened layer. And the underlying belief is, we need to do stuff. So whatever happens, we mustn't go into these primal wounded feelings. But actually, when we go there and we start to feel more deeply and can allow the anger, we can allow the pain, so another dimension opens up within us at a heart level and a gut level. And slowly what you move towards is being, It's not like you break through this layer and then you're just in primal wounded feelings your whole life. Wouldn't be so great. But you start to develop what might be known as presence, when you're just really, your mind and your whole thinking system it's there, but you're not so attached to it. You're not in, kind of when you're in this outer layer, you're in a kind of robotic state in life. You're like a little robot going around thinking and doing. And as you start to open this big gateway of feelings, so you come more into a kind of non-dual space, something some people call it, where you've got the mind and the stories, but you're not so attached to them. There's not the charge in the body that holds you in this outer ring, and you start to feel more. You start to create better friendships. Your love life improves massively. Your capacity to relate to other people, improves. You can really listen to people. You can really take a position for yourself, and you start to access this inner state of being where you just feel it's just great to be alive. You don't necessarily need to think and do all the time. You can just really enjoy sitting and being, in the evenings or whatever. You can still be active and think and do a lot, but you're still in touch with your feelings. So this is a kind of model that Osho suggested to me intuitively, and I wanted to put it out in this video because so many people are still in this belief that you've got to stay in this outer ring, and whatever happens you mustn't feel the deep wounds. But with support, if you need it, you can feel more and you can get deeper. So this is the intuitive model that came to me, and I called it the Osho Journey. And I often in workshops bring out the this flip chart thing and start to talk about it and give it to people as something a little bit different from the kind of hierarchical model. Or a lot of people are just thinking and doing, and they're just trying to get ahead, and then they want to make some inner progress, and they think it's all staying in this realm as well. It's not. It's about feelings initially, and then it's about real being. Okay, getting into being rather than doing. Okay, so that's my talk for today. Feel free to leave me a little like if you enjoy it, and or subscribe to my channel, and you'll get updates. And see you next time. Thank you for tuning in.